In the ever-shifting world of global politics, new players and ideas often stir things up. That's precisely what's happening with the Middle East-Europe Economic Corridor, or IMEC for short. This ambitious project is causing quite a stir in China because it's challenging one of their biggest global initiatives, the Belt and Road Initiative, or BRI. As countries jockey for power and influence, IMEC has given Western nations, India, the UAE, and Saudi Arabia a chance to work together while keeping a close eye on China's ambitions. So, let's dive into how IMEC is shaking things up on the world stage. China's Belt and Road Adventure. Imagine a grand adventure that China embarked on called the Belt and Road Initiative, or BRI. It's like a huge project where China is connecting with countries all around the world, almost like creating a new Silk Road. So what exactly is this BRI? Well, it's like a massive plan to build things like roads, railways, and ports in many different countries. China says it's a win-win for everyone involved, kind of like sharing a delicious pizza with your friends. But not everyone sees it that way. Some people worry that China might be trapping those countries in debt, which is like borrowing too much money and struggling to pay it back. It's a bit like a cautionary tale. Despite these concerns, the BRI keeps growing. China is trading more and more food with the countries involved. Think of it as China sharing its favorite snacks with its new friends. As of 2023, the BRI has been around for 10 years and it's still a hot topic. China's trade with the countries in this adventure has increased a lot, which shows that it's still a big deal. Many countries have even signed agreements with China to work together on BRI projects. But here's the catch. While China's BRI is like a blockbuster movie, the Western countries are trying to come up with their own scripts. They have some initiatives like the Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership, or CPTPP, which is like a club of countries in the Pacific region that want to work together. There's also the EU's Global Gateway, which is Europe's way of building bridges with other parts of the world. The thing is, these Western initiatives are having a tough time competing with China's BRI. They're like puzzles missing some pieces. They don't have as much money, they're not well connected, and they're not making as big of an impact as they'd hoped. So even though China's BRI is a big adventure, the Western countries are still trying to figure out how to make their initiatives just as exciting and impactful. It's like a friendly competition on the global stage. The bumpy side of China's BRI. While China talks about its Belt and Road Initiative as a win-win adventure, there's more to this story. This initiative, since its start, has allowed China to connect with other countries without making them feel like China's imposing its rules on them. It sounds great, but not everyone agrees. In response to the BRI, some Western countries and experts don't see it as a fairy tale. They've tried to come up with their own ideas like Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership in 2018, the I2U2 group in 2021, the EU's Global Gateway in 2021, and the G7's Partnership for Global Infrastructure and Investment, or PGII, in 2022. These are like their own adventures to counter the BRI. But here's the problem. These Western initiatives haven't been as successful as they hoped. They're like separate puzzle pieces that don't quite fit together. There's not enough money, they're not well connected, and they're not making as big of an impact as they'd like. Now let's talk about the not-so-happy part of the BRI story. China's own economic struggles have affected its work in the BRI. It's like a cloud over their adventure. The bailouts China provides to partner countries aren't cheap. For example, China charged a higher interest rate for rescue loans than organizations like the IMF. Imagine, you had to pay more interest on your loan than your friend did. China has spent a lot of money to bail out 22 countries, around $240 billion between 2008 and 2021. While that may seem like a lot, it's still less than what the US and the IMF have spent over the years. These bailouts have raised worries about debt traps, and some countries, like Italy, have even decided to leave the BRI. So even though the BRI might seem like a fantastic adventure, there are challenges and costs along the way. It's like a thrilling story with some unexpected twists and turns. China's BRI 2.0, a new chapter. But that's not all. China's Belt and Road Initiative has just leveled up with the introduction of BRI 2.0. Picture it as a thrilling sequel to an already epic adventure. In 2019, during the second Belt and Road Forum in Beijing, Chinese President Xi Jinping unveiled what we're calling BRI 2.0. This upgrade shows that China is taking the critiques of the BRI seriously. They want this adventure to be a long-term success, not only for Chinese companies, but also for the countries where these projects happen. What's different in BRI 2.0? Well, it's all about being more transparent, having an open market, and focusing on quality. It's like giving your favorite story a better ending. Plus, there's a big emphasis on being environmentally friendly, which is like a superhero team up with nature. China is also spreading its investments into new areas to protect itself from the competition and challenges in the ongoing rivalry between US and China. They're looking at things like fintech, artificial intelligence, clean tech, gaming, e-commerce, and biotech. It's like they're exploring new lands on their adventure. But this has left some European countries feeling a bit uneasy. China has been making big investments in countries like the UK, Germany, the Netherlands, and France. It's caused a bit of a rift in Europe as they try to figure out their way forward. Now, here's an interesting twist. China is growing its friendship with Russia, and that's making their BRI adventure even bigger. The BRI is connecting with something called the International North-South Transportation Corridor, which is like adding another exciting chapter to the story. It's also improving China's relationship with Russia and Iran. Speaking of global gatherings, the G20 summit happened recently, and it had its fair share of drama. Chinese President Xi Jinping and Russian President Putin didn't attend, showing that the G20 might not be their top priority. They have other plans, like increasing their trade to $200 billion in 2024 and expanding their BRICS group. But what really caught everyone's attention were two events: Italy's exit from the BRI, which we're calling Italy exit, and the launch of the India, Middle East, Europe Economic Corridor, or IMEC. Italy, once a part of the BRI, is planning to step back due to economic troubles and pressure from the West. It's like a big decision that could change their adventure. And then there's IMEC, which is like a new adventure that G7 launched to compete with China's BRI. It involves India, the US, the UAE, Saudi Arabia, the EU, France, Germany, and Italy. People are wondering if it'll become a strong rival to China's BRI or just fade away like an old story. So, China's BRI is evolving into BRI 2.0, and there are plenty of twists and turns in this epic tale. It's like a global adventure that keeps surprising everyone. Unlocking the India, Middle East, Europe Economic Corridor. Imagine a grand plan that could change the world map, connecting Asia, the Middle East, and Europe like never before. That's what the India, Middle East, Europe Economic Corridor is all about, and it's a big deal. IMEC is a part of the Partnership for Global Infrastructure and Investment, which was launched by the G7 in 2021. It's like a strategic move by the Western nations to counter China's Belt and Road Initiative and its growing global influence. Experts and political pundits are calling IMEC historically significant, both in terms of geopolitics and economics. It's like a puzzle piece that could accelerate development and bring countries closer together. This corridor aims to connect India with Europe, and it's no small feat. Picture it like this. IMEC has two main parts. First, there's the East Corridor, which links India with the Arabian Gulf. Then there's the Northern Corridor, which connects the Gulf with Europe. But that's not all. It includes an electricity cable, a hydrogen pipeline, and a high-speed data cable. It's like building the highways of the future. The goal of IMEC is to transform and facilitate trade in the countries along its route. It's seen as a potential counter to China's BRI and its growing influence in Eurasia. This could reduce political tensions in the Arabian Peninsula and strengthen India's strategic ties with the region. It could also offer strategic advances to the US and potentially extend to Africa, supporting the US and the EU's plan to develop a trans-African corridor. On the economic front, IMEC is like the infrastructure of peace in the Arabian Peninsula. It'll make it easier for goods to move seamlessly, reducing transit times and boosting economic growth in the partner nations. Plus, it'll ensure a secure supply of energy and resources, which can be strategically used to develop special economic zones, or SEZ, and further enhance economic growth in these countries. In a nutshell, IMEC is not just a project, it's a vision of a more interconnected world, like chapters in a book that are yet to be written. It could reshape the global power dynamic and bring prosperity to the nations involved, unlocking the potential of IMEC, a challenge to China's BRI. Imagine two colossal infrastructure projects competing on the global stage. On one side, there's China's Belt and Road Initiative, a giant with a decade-long head start. On the other, there's the India, Middle East, Europe Economic Corridor, or IMEC, a rising star in the world of economic connectivity. IMEC has been launched to stimulate economic development through enhanced connectivity. Partnered nations have signed memorandums of understanding to bolster existing maritime, road, and rail networks, attracting fresh investments to the region. This grand project offers a plethora of benefits, It facilitates the development and export of clean energy, strengthens food supply chains, links energy grids, and creates a seamless movement of goods between Asia and Europe via a bustling commercial hub. It sounds like a dream come true, right? However, here comes the million-dollar question. Can IMEC really compete with China's BRI? Which is larger in scale and boasts countries like Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and Italy, all part of the BRI club. The policy documents surrounding IMEC don't directly mention China, BRI, or positioning the project as an alternative to the world. Nevertheless, finances won't be a problem. Each member is ready to allocate a substantial $20 billion towards its development. The fine details of IMEC's strategy will become clearer as partnered nations meet in the coming months. It's all part of the growing rivalry between the US and China, a competition that will shape the future of these mega projects. IMEC aims to counter the BRI and curtail Chinese influence, but it can't openly admit to it. This is evident when we look at the involvement of Chinese companies in projects like the Piraeus Port and the Etihad Trail. China's presence in Europe and the Middle East is significant and cannot be ignored. Additionally, BRI has faced criticism for causing debt issues in partner countries, and the absence of China from the Paris Club, a group that coordinates creditor nations, has made it challenging for countries to find sustainable solutions. This aspect is notably absent in IMEC. While BRI has its strengths, issues, and concerns, coupled with China's economic challenges, its path forward won't be entirely smooth. The growing geopolitical rivalry between the US and China means that initiatives like IMEC, PGII, and the strengthening of strategic partnerships with like-minded countries will reduce US dependence on China. Despite criticism, IMEC differentiates itself from BRI. While BRI is China-centric, with most investments coming from China, often causing a debt trap, IMEC is a cooperative project that increases alignment of shared interests among its members. This opens the door to numerous other projects, such as building pipelines for the flow of clean hydrogen in the near future. The success of IMEC hinges on adept diplomacy and the alignment of interests among participating countries. As the world watches this grand competition unfold, the lessons learned from China's BRI will guide IMEC's path forward. The challenge is set, and the stakes are high in this battle of mega infrastructure projects on the global stage. As the world witnesses a growing geopolitical rivalry between the United States and China, the recent launch of the India, Middle East, Europe Economic Corridor during the G20 summit in Delhi has sent ripples of concern across China. This ambitious development has raised eyebrows in Beijing, but interestingly, it didn't receive support from Turkey, which has also launched an alternative project to IMEC. The road ahead for these mega infrastructure projects is laden with challenges and opportunities. Like-minded countries are coming together to counterbalance China's influence, while China itself is strategizing to stay relevant and secure the success of its projects like the Belt and Road Initiative in its pursuit of the Chinese Dream 2049. IMEC offers a promising alternative, particularly for developing countries and partner nations. Unlike the BRI, which has often been criticized for primarily benefiting China, IMEC is designed to benefit all its members' countries. It aims to foster mutual growth, development, and cooperation among its participants. The competition between IMEC and the BRI is symbolic of a larger geopolitical struggle for influence and economic supremacy. As the rivalry unfolds, the world watches with keen interest, eager to see which of these grand infrastructure projects will shape the future of global connectivity and power dynamics. The challenge is set, and it poses a significant threat to China's BRI and its ambitions on the world stage.